Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another great event here at Homecoming Weekend. A special welcome to all of our alumni and friends back for class reunions, to get a campus update and to hear about the new chapter of Hesston College. Welcome to our current Larks. I see you in the house, Hesston College student athletes, and most especially a welcome to the family and friends of this year's Hall of Fame class, the class of 2025. At Hesston, we introduced the Hall of Fame through the leadership of our athletic director, Brian Kerr, 2 years ago. So we've been around for a long time. The Larks have been winning a lot on the athletic venues for years and years and years, but we've just started the Athletic Hall of Fame. So as I've said a few times in this event, we have a little catching up to do, and it is our honor to welcome our third class of inductees. We have men and women from the decades, from the different sports, from all across the country that are represented here today, and we're very, very happy to have them here, and we appreciate all the gifts that they've given to Hesston College. We're going to start with a class of 1970 inductee. This is Larry Beckler, who's in absentia. Larry lives in Pasadena, and I have gotten to know Larry well over the last couple of years in my alumni trips to the West Coast, staying at his home in Pasadena. Larry is an easy guy to talk to, a lot of good stories, and we often, when we're together, he'll reminisce about his time here at Hesston College and the memories he made and everything he has taken away from that experience. So we'll hear from Larry in a moment via recorded video. But before he talks, before we hear from him, I want to point out a couple of things that you'll hear. Can we have the slide for Larry? Anyhow, as that's coming up, a couple of things that he's going to say that I want to highlight. He does mention this, but he says it very softly. He's a humble guy, and you might not catch it. In 1970, actually before that, when he was making his decision to go to college, ultimately he ended up here. But a choice that he had in front of him was the University of Nebraska football, okay, a scholarship offer to go play for the Huskers. And folks, in 1970, in the late 60s and 70s, that was a big deal, okay? Not that it's not a big deal now. Go Big Red. That was for you, Norm. Larry had some options, okay? I'm speaking mostly to my student athletes in the room. Raise your hand if you're a current Hesston College student athlete. Go ahead, there's lots of you. There you go. I'm speaking to you mostly here. Larry chose to be a big fish in a small pond. That was his choice, okay? And he'll talk mostly about the benefits and how he never really regretted that choice, still doesn't, and how his life has been enriched in the decades since he chose this place. So I want you to soak that in and listen to what he's saying about what he experienced here, the lessons that have stuck with him through the years and years. And he's told me many times, I made the choice to come to Hesston, I'd do it again. Larry represents one of kind of that multi-sport athlete back in that day when athletics were kind of an emerging thing, but had quickly become a very good thing and a big thing. He played on some very good teams and was able to make an impact in track and field and basketball and later soccer, played for some excellent coaches and had a good experience here. Here's something about the Hall of Fame. There's only it's a select list. Not everybody gets in the Hall of Fame. But what he's talking about, what he gleaned out of his experience about being a big fish in a small pond is available to every one of you student athletes here today. The takeaways that he got, the benefits that he had from being in this environment is available to every single athlete that we have. So as you hear Larry reflect on what's really most important that he's taken away from his time, that can be you, okay? You're at the place, you're at the same institution that he attended, and we're thankful that he did and the gifts that he brought, as well as the gifts of all the other inductees. So we're going to start this afternoon's ceremony by hearing from Larry Beckler, all the way from Pasadena, California, by way of Seward, Nebraska, and we're very happy to welcome him into the class of 2025 Hall of Fame. Larry Beckler.
I want to say, first of all, I'm very sorry not to make this year's Hesston College homecoming celebration. Thoughts of my time at Hesston always bring back very, very fond memories of my time as a student there. Hesston lies 1,500 miles from where I live here in Pasadena, and at my mature age, the distance seems formidable. And I'm amazed and quite honored to be considered / chosen for the Hesston College Athletic Hall of Fame, which is a stunning surprise for me. I want to point out at the outset that the teams I played on were filled with a talented bunch of teammates, and we won or lost our games in united effort. Some of those players were more talented than I was. I also want to point out that what we are talking about happened 55 to 57 years ago. You're probably wondering what sport I played at Hesston then, whether it was chariot racing or jousting. I'm surprised that anyone on the selection committee knows, or anyone is even alive who knows what went on in Hesston's athletics in the late 1960s. 1968 is considered by Smithsonian Magazine the year that shattered America, referring to the social unrest that swept the country. It was, however, a wonderful year for me. I graduated from Seward High School, which is in Nebraska, near Melford, Nebraska, which is near Lincoln, Nebraska. I was entering Hesston College in the fall, a no-brainer. Hesston was at the top of my list, and there was no number two, even if there was a scholarship from Nebraska football to consider. Only years later, watching my 3 children ponder and agonize over their college possibilities, did I realize how the Lord had given me a singular desire to go to Hesston long before I was a senior in high school. Well, why Hesston? School has the Christian values and mindset that my parents and church had instilled in me from day one. I wanted higher education that developed those values, not worked against them. And I wanted to make lifelong friends that I also retained for the rest of my life. For example, I recently spent some time, 3 or 4 nights, in the home of my RA assistant my freshman year, Stan Miller. Still have many friends from that time. And while I didn't consider it in 1968, in 2025, I firmly believe that Christian schools allow for more free speech, a more thorough exploration of ideas than public institutions of higher education. The motto for Hesston College back then was, "The truth shall make you free," and I think that it was wise to attend Hesston, which stands on the ultimate truth of Jesus Christ. Academically, when you're an athlete and you're fairly decent at it, you want to do well in other fields. The grass is always greener. Academics, I wanted straight A's and didn't come close. I ran into a bump the second week that I was at Hesston in Melva Kaufman's class. She handed back our first assignment. I didn't get my paper. She had it. And she was waving it around the class, giving excerpts from the paper of how not to write in the English language. According to Professor Kaufman, one needs to write with perspicacity. To this day, I don't know what that means. Other than that glitch, the classes were challenging, the professors were excellent, and I was more prepared for the next level in education. The theme word for my time at Hesston was koinonia, which is a Greek word for community or fellowship. And I'm bringing this up because we live in an era now of individualization. My cell phone, I can go anywhere in the world and be quite happy alone. And I enjoyed the friendship of so many people, starting with the modular system at Kaufman Court and the ever widening circles, ebbing and flowing of friends around the campus. Over the course of the 2 years, I made friends with musicians and artists, of course, athletes of all sorts. I found relatives I didn't even know I had, made friends with nerds. The elephant in the room at that time was the Vietnam War, along with civil rights, along with poverty. And all the issues were up for discussion and evaluation amongst us all. It was a heady time. And of course, athletics. one of the few campus activities, and I'm going out on a limb here, that requires the total person. Love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength is a good way to approach athletics because your total person is involved. Yes, your mind is needed in the classroom, but your physical body, your mental facilities are all needed on the playing field. You're with a team. It takes a village. You have a united purpose to move the ball down the field or put it in the goal. There is pain, there is sweat, there's exhilaration, there's defeat. It's the total person. And here I'm going to make the pinnacle statement of the time. Hebrew poetry has in it where you work your way up to the top. There's the pinnacle statement in this. And the pinnacle statement would be this. I remember a lot of plays at Hesston on the basketball court and on the soccer field. I can hardly remember much that happened in the classroom. And the reason is because, again, this total person is involved. And I can't think of a better activity to be in when you're in college education than to be on a sports team, in this case, working with the guys for a united purpose. Well, and finally, I've been encouraged to mention what life has taught me pertinent to this particular day. First of all, one has to get the purpose of life correct, and it is this. For all people in the world, their overall goal or underlying foundation should be to glorify God and to enjoy his company forever and ever and ever and ever, and you can keep going. I'm not going to develop this thought in the interest of time, but life needs to be lived within the framework of God's calling. To quote missionary Jim Elliot, missionary to Ecuador, he or she is no fool who gives up what they cannot keep and grabs onto what they cannot lose. One of the wisest observations ever made. Once you understand your calling within God's framework for your life, go at it at your calling with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Play your heart out in life. Whatever you pursue for the remainder of your days, leave it all on the field, if I can make that analogy. Leave a legacy that will impact the area of the world you live and work in, and that legacy, which is impervious to moth and rust, and no one can steal it from you, as the Bible says, will follow you into eternity. And along the way, in the spirit of koinonia, fellowship, and community, travel with, encourage, and inspire as many others as you can. Again, thank you for this honor. I accept it as a representative of all the talented athletes I played with in the late 1960s. Go Larks.
I'm Brian Niebel, and I'm here to introduce a good friend and former teammate from the class of '83, Craig Berkey. The summer after my senior year of high school, and before I came to Hesston College, my sister Beth, who was in admissions at the college, told me about this good basketball player from Couts, Indiana, and she thought he and I would get along well. Over the next 2 years and throughout our lives, Craig has been one of my best friends. Craig was a strong basketball player with an instinct for scoring. In today's words, he would be described as a slashing player to get to the rim, but if the defensive player backed off, Craig had a good shot from anywhere on the offensive end of the court. Craig has the record for the most career points made and the career free throws made. And there's no doubt in my mind the career free throws made is because he was so strong at going to the basket, and that's when you get fouled. I joked with Craig one time that maybe if we had had the three-point shot, he would have scored less. But I do think that if the three-pointer had been in existence in '82, '83, he would probably have averaged a few more points per game. If I remember correctly, and I'm almost 100% sure of this, Craig was leading the nation for NJCAA scoring late in the season. And I remember our coach was talking about it a little bit, and the team was kind of hoping that he would finish the season and leading in the nation in scoring. But I think the last couple of games, he ended up falling to number 2. But regardless, Craig could score a lot of points. But other than scoring, Craig was a great teammate. He worked hard and was encouraging to his teammates to also work hard. He was funny, and that helped make the atmosphere a much more positive place. Our teammate Scott Jancy also says about Craig, he was an awesome teammate and has remained a good friend for over 40 years after our playing days. Craig is well deserving of being inducted into the Hesston College Athletic Hall of Fame. From my experience and having watched Hesston College basketball for nearly 40 years, I would put him among the very best players to ever play here. Want to come on up, Craig? Let's see.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Brian, for those words. I guess I'm going to have to pay you even more than I thought I was going to have to pay you for saying those nice things about me. So it really is an honor. And on behalf of my wife, Beth, who is a Hesston College alumni as well, just let me say thank you and greetings from Couts, Indiana, Northwest Indiana, where Beth and I still live on the family farm. We've raised 3 kids while there. We have a daughter, Hannah, who I have a son-in-law now named Cooper. Cooper works for the Green Bay Packers, so I don't know if you like them or not. And my sons, Andrew and Jared. There on the farm, I also run a Beck's Hybrids seed dealership. And until just recently, I was also a school bus driver, hence the gray beard. And Beth is a high school business teacher at Couts. I mentioned that Beth is a Hesston alumni. We did not meet here. We missed each other by a year, but a fellow Hesston College connection was the reason that we met at a wedding reception. And so in ways that I did not even anticipate, the Hesston College experience really blessed my life in a lot of ways. And I do thank Brian for his words, and our friendship is mutual. And there's people like Brian and another teammate that he referenced, Scott Jancy. These guys were mod mates. These guys were teammates. They are brothers of mine. And while it's not that amazing that we are close friends, because we have a lot in common, what is amazing is that in 40 plus years with really pretty limited frequency of contact, that there is actual substance and staying power to these relationships. And there's a deeper bond at play here. This is not the only time I'm going to mention this. In this place rooted in faith, that suddenly you find relationships that can actually last like that. I wasn't the guy in high school that was giving a great deal of thought to my college choice. You might have boiled it down to like, well, I just graduated from high school, now what? But I had family connections here at Hesston College. I don't remember, a couple of sisters went here for sure, and I don't know if any of you would remember John Copenhaver. John was a Bible professor here some years ago. He was actually my uncle. And his son, Ron Copenhaver, was the basketball coach at that time. So I had connections here, so it was a pretty easy thing for me to do, you know. And coming here, you know, I knew I wanted to try out for basketball. I didn't have a great sense for how I would measure up. It was a big unknown. First year here, we played in Hess Hall, which no longer exists. We played in Hess Hall. And Yost Center at that time was under construction, so our sophomore year, we were the first Larks to play in Yost Center. And I don't know if there's any representatives of the Yost family here today, but thank you. heartfelt thank you for building such an amazing facility for us and to still enjoy. But I was this farm kid in Northwest Indiana, suddenly finding myself out here in the middle of Kansas, playing with a bunch of guys I didn't know from all across the United States. And those guys soon became friends of mine, and those guys soon became brothers of mine. And I vividly remember these van trips to places like Cloud County and Butler County and Haskell, and I mean, it was surreal in that way. And the newness of the locations, going to these schools you'd never heard of, gave you a chance, and it gives you, student athletes, kind of a reset, kind of a chance to reinvent yourself a little bit as a person. And that was true for me. Traveling the plains of Kansas still really does hold a special place in my heart. Some people maybe think it's desolate and boring. I find a lot of beauty out here in the plains, and it definitely reminds me of the Hesston College experience. It was kind of that first glimpse of a bigger world. And I suppose I suppose every college kid feels that to some degree. After Hesston College, I went to a place called Panhandle State University, and I played there for 2 more years on a basketball scholarship. And while we were playing the same game, and while we were taking a lot of those same road trips, I can tell you that it was not the same. And the experience there was nowhere close to the experience that I had here at Hesston College. Which brings us to today. I admit, there is a bittersweet element of this ceremony for me. I'm looking around at these familiar places, and I'm looking at you, the student athletes, and I am reminded, not for the first time, that the game is something I can no longer play. And it hasn't been for a long time. If I wanted to try and relive those days, that would be impossible. But this is part of life. And it was a big part then of what made Hesston College meaningful to me, because in the middle of all of that, there was this overriding core of faith and Christian values, all right? And there's a passage in the Bible in 2 Corinthians 4:16 that speaks to how I feel today. And I may have learned this one here in a Bible class. But it says, "Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed every day." I'm a living example of that, standing before you here this morning, or this afternoon, whatever time it is. You can see my memory is faded too. Though my body won't let me play the game anymore, because I've given my life to Jesus Christ, because His Holy Spirit lives in me, because His Word is true, I can be better on the inside than I ever before. And He has changed me. Praise His name. He has changed me in so many great ways. And so we'll all come to the place where the physical abilities leave us behind. 100%. But it's that inner man that lasts. And so in closing, let me just say, students and friends, this place and this athletic program and these coaches and these mentors, they are here for you. They are here because they want you to succeed. They are here for your benefit. Take advantage of it. Now is your time. Now is your time. Give yourself fully to this, this pursuit of athletic excellence, but do me a favor, please. As you're doing that, be listening in your heart to that voice that's calling you higher. It's my prayer for you that through Christ, that you will hear His voice and you will respond. And I do hope that we will meet again someday, but perhaps not. And if we don't, perhaps we will meet again in that coming kingdom of God that we truly believe is real and is coming. And I don't know if there's basketball in heaven. I don't. But if there is, I promise you that I will be one of the first ones to suit up, and we'll play then. So Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this honor.
It's a real privilege to be able to stand here in front of you today and introduce the next two inductees. They are Christy Walker Cornell in the bright pink over here, and Jill Troyer Miller in the purple. Christy was a 5A All-State player from Colorado, and Jill was a highly sought-after Indiana high school standout player. And I was really fortunate in 1989 to sign the two of them together. I took over a program when I had come here a couple of years earlier that hadn't won more than maybe 3 or 4 games a year for the last decade. And it was a little bit of a struggle the first couple of years that I was here. But when we signed these two young ladies, we got better in a hurry, almost overnight. We immediately became competitive with everybody that we played, which was a real change. These girls rewrote the record books. I say girls. I still think of them as 18 and 19-year-olds that I coached, and they're both grandmothers. In fact, Jill just became a grandmother again several days ago, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. My grandmothers never looked like you guys. I don't know. Christy still holds the season record for points averaged in a season at 22. And Jill ended her career as the leading scorer, rebounder, and assist leader, which is an interesting combination. You don't usually find all 3 of those in one player. It attests to the all-round player that she was. And if we had been allowed to play as many games, the NJCAA back in those days limited the number of games you could play to 25. I think now you can, play 32 in your basketball season? If you'd have added 7 more games to their stat totals, they might still be the leaders in some of those categories. Christy was a tremendous free throw shooter and played with her back to the bucket primarily. And she had that uncanny ability to be able to get to the free throw line. If you could get her the basketball, she was either going to score or get to the free throw line. If she scored 20 points, it wasn't uncommon for 10 of them to be from the free throw line. She was that good a free throw shooter and still is ranked in the top 10 here in the stat levels. Jill had probably the quickest first step of any player I've ever played. And she was left-handed, and she had that little mid-range jumper where she would put the ball on the floor and get the defender back on their heels and then pull up and shoot that soft little, sweet little left-handed jumper that you had. I can still see it to this day. I could go on and on about the impact these two women have had on the women's basketball program here and helping jumpstart it. I loved coaching them. They were great teammates, really coachable people, and a joy to be around. But I'm going to let them make a few comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Joel. Thank you very much. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Joel. God, I think I'd be or my teammates. So I'm just going to read my speech. Okay. When I think back to my time at Hesston College, I can't help but smile, right? It wasn't exactly your typical Hesston College student. I was an 18-year-old being flown from Colorado to Kansas for the first time ever on an airplane. Let's just say it wasn't love at first flight. I got so sick. But thankfully, Joel Kaufman was right there, kind, patient, and steady, already showing me what it meant to have a coach who cared for me as a person, not just as a player. And I was lucky enough to have a student sponsor who helped me settle in. Her name is Nori Bontrager King, and she's actually here today with her husband, who is being honored for his own athletic career at Hesston. Nori was one who first showed me what it was meant to be part of Hesston family. She took me to Drubers. She made me feel at home and reminded me that even when you're far away from family, you can still find people who make you feel like you belong. Sports has always been a big part of my life. From as early as I can remember, I was competing. Playing at the next level after high school was a dream. But I'll be honest, I wasn't the top-notch student in the classroom. My grades weren't the best, and the idea of college scared me more than any opposing basketball team ever could. I knew I could play ball, but I wasn't sure I could keep up with the academics. Thankfully, Hesston College gave me a chance. I studied early childhood with Tammy Kime, and between her guidance in the classroom and Joel's encouragement on the court, I found my balance. I kept up better than I ever thought I could, and I started to believe in myself, not just as an athlete, but as a student as well. Of course, I had some growing up to do along the way. Coming from a family of 4, being the oldest, I thought I was ready for that independence. But then came my first phone bill, $600 in the first month. That was back in the day when you didn't have cell phones. So, you had to go down to the mod and the phone would ring and we'd all run out and, who's it for? So my parents put a big, quick no-no on that. And I learned fast that being on your own doesn't always mean you're ready for all the responsibilities that come with it. Still, Hesston wasn't just about the classes and the challenges. It was also about the people. I made so many friends, and one very special one in particular, Shane, who would later become my husband of 33 years. I'd say that meeting him was one of the best extra benefits that I got from Hesston. And all of that happened before basketball even started. So now we're going to go on to basketball, okay? No, when the season did start, it got even busier. 8 a.m. classes and late night practices were brutal. Learning new plays, figuring out team chemistry, and piled into the van with Joel driving us to games, it was a whirlwind. And no, I couldn't tell you our exact record, but I could tell you this. We had so much fun, we laughed, we competed, we leaned on each other, and the fact that our uniforms are magically cleaned and ready for us each day, that was cherry on top. Because as every college student knows, doing laundry is not the highlight of campus life, huh? Then I look back now, what stands out most isn't the win-loss records or the stat lines. It's the relationships, the lessons and laughter. Hesston gave me a place to grow, to stretch myself, to fall down and get back up again. It gave me mentors like Joel and Tammy, friends I'll never forget, and a community that welcomed a nervous 18-year-old from Colorado and gave her a home. And most of all, it gave me memories and connections that have lasted a lifetime, including my husband, my partner of 33 years. For that, I will always be grateful. After Hesston, Shane and I moved back to Colorado. We got married, and soon after, we had 2 amazing children who are here with us celebrating me today. All of this was happening while Shane was finishing college at UNC. I was working as a daycare director, loving my job, and helping support our young family. When Shane graduated, we bought our first home and started to feel settled. And then I called him at work one day and I said, I quit my job. I'm going back to school. Of course he said, okay, but with a little bit of surprise in his voice. I had enrolled in UNC to pursue my teaching degree, and honestly, for the first time, I thought too, what the heck am I doing? So around this time, I was playing rec basketball in a league with some friends, and one of them said, you should try walking on. I laughed and said, no way, do you really think I could make it? Well, I did. I was 30 years old. I walked onto a Division I basketball team at UNC. I was a wife and a mom of 2, and suddenly practicing at 5 a.m. with 18-year-olds. It was crazy, but it was so exciting, and my dad, my dad was so proud. My dad never got to see me play college ball. Like most of you guys, when you come to college, your parents don't come along with you, so they don't get to experience college life or seeing you play basketball. So I wanted to give him this gift, but reality set in. And I had a meeting with the coach, and he asked how I was doing. I broke down in tears. Oh, because what I do. And I said, this is just too much. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and this time I really need to be in school for education. It was time to hang up my basketball shoes. The coach offered me a spot helping the team, but I knew in my heart my family needed me more, and that was my first big girl decision. Our daughter, I finished strong and graduated with an applied statistics degree at UNC, something I am very proud of. I went on to teach, coach along the way, and most importantly, raise 2 amazing kids. Our daughter Miranda is the oldest. She plays soccer, basketball, and she swam, but volleyball was her true love. She went on to play in college and did very well. Today, she's a mom of 3 beautiful children, our grandchildren, Bryden, Bonnie, and John Connor. Yeah, the Terminator. She can still serve a mean ball, and if you even try to hit in her direction, you will be blocked. She shares my love and talent for children and works as a nanny for 2 very lucky families in Colorado. Our son Michael played every sport you can imagine, and he was good at all of them. I'll never forget the thrill of seeing him throw down his first dunk as a sophomore. Later, he transferred schools before his senior year, which meant adjusting to a new school. He became the starting goalie for the varsity soccer team, and despite missing half of his basketball season because of the transfer rules, still had an incredible senior year. Today, he works for the city of Woodland Park in Colorado and is working towards buying his first home. As for Shane and me, we're back to just being a couple, like we started all those years ago at Hesston. We live in Florissant, Colorado, in a cozy mountain home where we enjoy traveling, keeping warm, and of course, reliving the memories of our Hesston days whenever we come back. So from a sick 18-year-old to her first flight to Kansas, to a wife, a mom, a Mimi, teacher, now I'm a security officer in the school, and yes, a once 30-year-old college basketball walk-on. I can say that Hesston was the start of a journey I will always be proud of. Thank you, Hesston College, for being such a memorable part of my story.
Thank you, Joel, for the nice introduction that you gave today. I'm a little bit nervous because I've watched a lot of the inauguration and all those wonderful speeches and these wonderful speeches, and I'm just an athlete, I guess. So I'll do my best, but thank you. It is an honor to be here today, and it's fun to reminisce about my time at Hesston College playing basketball 35 years ago. That's a lot of time gone by. And I wasn't going to tell this story, but since Joel, you mentioned my quick step, I'm going to roll it back to today, teaching a gym class. And I was with a bunch of first graders, and I was playing tag with them. And I thought I was going to take that first, like go this way and then go that. Well, your mind still thinks you can do the same things. And I went to take that step and it didn't come out, and I leaned and I went down like a tree. And I said, nope, no more tag for me. So enjoy being athletes while you can. Last night, I had the privilege to meet the girls' basketball team here at Hesston College, and what a neat group of ladies you guys are. That was such a privilege to meet all of you, and it just truly blessed me to meet you, and it gave me little warm fuzzies just thinking back to my time at Hesston College, so thank you. It was a true privilege to have Joel Kaufman as my coach. He didn't just help us reach our full potential on the court, he cared deeply about our well-being off the court, too. He invested time and energy into all of us, always meeting us with a smile, encouragement, and often a good laugh. After I got married my first year, Coach thoughtfully invited my husband, Lance, who is here now.
I was going to introduce him. They don't think about it.
Yes, my wonderful husband, Lance. Side note, we have a lot going on in our family, and he was a strong encouragement for me to be here today, so thank you. It worked out well. Oh, wait, let's see. So Lance was invited by Joel to become our assistant coach so that he could travel with us because we were now married. It worked out well, although I would admit that I didn't always listen to Lance's advice during games. I think I just didn't hear him, but I also want to say how much I appreciated my teammates. I don't remember any drama on the team, and we worked together well and had a fun time together. When people asked me what my major was in college, I usually say basketball with a chuckle. And then I would tell them that I earned a liberal arts degree in business, office, and Bible. I wasn't especially a career-driven person. I had always dreamed of just getting married and being a stay-at-home mom. Academics didn't come easy for me, but sports were where I thrived. I'm thankful for my Aunt Brenda Niebel, who encouraged me to at least complete 2 years of college. It ended up being the perfect fit. I'm also grateful that I had parents who helped pave the way for me in my college career through all their love and support. Athletics was a gift God gave me. I always wanted to use it to bring glory to Him. Basketball taught me many life lessons: to work hard, to get along with others, to give my best, to never, ever give up, and to endure hardships with Jesus by my side. It's not the wins, the awards, or the trophies that I hope to be remembered by, but rather my love for Jesus and the ripples of love and kindness I've tried to leave behind. Over the years, I've learned not just to be thankful for my gifts, but to embrace my weaknesses too. When I am weak, He is strong. For much of my life, I wished I was smarter or better at directions. But now I thank God for making me exactly how I am. For in my weaknesses, they keep me humble and dependent on Him. Without God, I am nothing. Well, ironically, God was preparing me, even back at Hesston, for a career I never saw coming. Working with kids as a substitute teacher. I needed 2 years of college to do that, and God had already set that in motion. I never thought I was smart enough to teach, but His ways are not our ways. Every day, He equips me for what I need in the classroom, driven by love. And these have been 22 years of a lot of fun. Because of my own struggles in school, I can relate to the student who finds learning hard. I love encouraging them. You're not dumb. Don't give up. Even more special than that is that all 3 of my daughters, Morgan, Kelly, and Marcy, have become teachers too. It has been a joy to share that journey with them as I learn from them when I am in their classroom. Jesus was the greatest teacher of all, and so I choose to depend on him daily in this role. And that is my prayer as I go to school daily, that he equips me with what I need. I thank God for my time at Hesston, for the gift of athletics, and for how it prepared me for life. I'm grateful for the way he has taught me to lean on him in both my strengths and my weaknesses. Thank you again for the honor to be here today. This reward is a reminder that our Father loves to give good gifts to his children, and all glory to God for his goodness. Thank you.
Well, hello. First of all, an extra thing hope I can say, but these two girls were my teammates for 1 year, and what a blessing. And Joel was my coach as well for 2 years here. So I am Nori King. My husband is Nolan King, and Coach Andy, who we still call him Coach Andy, who was our two oldest daughters' coach for softball while they were here at Hesston. So that's another extra blessing. But I'm just going to tell you just a little bit about Nolan before he comes up, and kind of who he is and how he grew up. He grew up a dairy farmer. He milked cows at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day, even school days. And at a young age, he was the one who kind of took charge of the dairy and was running the milkings for his family. And after high school, he was still managing the dairy farm and decided that, I think there's something more for me out there, and wanted to see what else there was for him. It was a big deal to leave the family dairy farm to go to college, but he decided that he was going to come out and make a visit to Hesston College on the big Thanksgiving weekend, which used to be the big, everyone came, the alumni, the prospectives, like it was a lot of people. And so he came out and visited a friend of his who was here at Hesston and playing baseball at the time. And a little side note, we met the first time that weekend when he came at Thanksgiving. So his dream of wanting to get to that next level of baseball happened, and he decided to come to Hesston in the January of 1989, so that following January. But Nolan has been a dairy farmer for about 50 years of his life, and he currently still is farming. We have crops, hay and beef. He's an active member at our church and has been very involved there. And we have 4 daughters and 1 son. One of our daughters and our 1 son is here today. And we have 2 son-in-laws, 1 granddaughter, and 1 baby granddaughter due in a couple days. So Nolan has coached all of our kids in softball and baseball, and many, many refining moments coaching 10U softball girls. He came a long way till he got to high school, and then coached at Lancaster Mennonite, coached high school softball and baseball there for our kids. I think Nolan would agree with me on this, so I want to share just a little bit, but Hesston College was one of the best, most memorable times in our lives. There was nothing that could even compare to this school campus. The community, the friends, the fun, the sports, the professors, the coaches, the staff, even the president, we all knew him personally. It's just what an unusual school to know all the people there at the school. What a gift Hesston College was to us, and we are so thankful for that. But I do want to close with 2 things about Nolan. I have never, ever met someone, excuse me, who knows every single little tiny, minuscule rule in the softball, baseball book, in the rule book. He can recite word for word to any umpire that he would have to admit that he was correct. Maybe that was after the game, but he would know every single rule. Now, he did not like school at all, but that baseball book, he knew every single line. He never got thrown out of a ball game. Very, very close, but never got thrown out. Second thing, I have never, ever met anyone who can tear apart every single detail of every single game ever played, play by play, for what they could have done, what worked, what didn't, who hit where, the pitch count, with how many outs, the score, the innings, the weather at that moment. He could remember every detail still of those games, and he could dissect it. He still does this, amazingly. A man who just absolutely, completely loved the game of baseball, and still does. But now he watches either our kids or college baseball or the MLB. He's a lover of the game of baseball. Before I call him up, I'm going to read. So his coach was Art Mollett, who couldn't be here today. He had something else where he needed to be. But Art has sent a letter, and I'm just going to read that to you before he comes up. Nolan, I am truly sorry I cannot be here today, but would like to share a few thoughts of Nolan's career at Hesston. Nolan was a fierce competitor. He would not back down and was at his best versus tough competition. He also was a versatile player. He could have played well any position on the field, but was used primarily at shortstop when not pitching. He was also our most potent hitter, hitting not only for average, but with power. Baseball aside, Nolan was and is a follower of Christ and is dedicated to his beautiful family and the church. I couldn't be prouder to see him receive this honor. Congratulations, Nolan. You can come.
Well, God mighty gave me a gift to play ball, but not to speak in front of people, so bear with me. But no, first of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior for giving me the talents and the gifts that he gave me. Hopefully, I honored him well with them and made him proud. Also like to thank Hesston for honoring me. This is a true honor to be up here. My 2 years at Hesston College were two of my best favorite years. And if you think about it, why not? I loved baseball. I got to play 2 years of competitive baseball, and I met my lovely wife. Here we have 5 kids. 2 of them are here today, and I don't know, it's just, life's awesome. So, but before I tell you some stories, I want to say, if it wasn't for Art Mollett, he made all this possible. I'm not sure if baseball would be at Hesston if it wasn't for Art Mollett. When I was here, he was athletic director, baseball coach, trainer, ground crew. When we go to the field was his pride and joy. If you want to look and find Art anywhere, he was out in the field. I don't think that he wouldn't give us a few advantages when we were playing. If the infield was where he kept immaculate, if he thought we would have an advantage by mowing the grass tight that game, he mowed it tight. If he thought we'd have an advantage by mowing it a little bit longer, it was always immaculate. He would mow it a little bit longer. The other thing about Art was he always hand drugged the field. He didn't have a machine, and every time we'd go out there to practice, the field was ready. Every time we went out for a game, the field was ready. The other thing that we had, it wasn't a great field back then. We didn't have the stadium. We had a snow fence, was the home run fence, that would get taken down every year and put back up. So in January and February, Art had to figure out, does he have rabbits in the outfield? And what I mean by that is people that could really fly. Or does he have good pitching staff? Does he have good hitters? Because when you're playing against the Cali counties, the Labettes, the Cloud counties, they have most of the studs. And so they usually had better pitching than we did. They usually had better hitters. So Art would put the fence way out there and let our outfield run down the fly balls. So if I remember correctly, left field or the corners were 360 and center field was 405. So it was a poke. Art as a trainer. So I tore my hamstring when we were in a national tournament. I told trainer Art, I want to play. I got the rest of my life to heal. He said, okay, slapped on some of this red goop on a cotton gauze, slapped it on the back of my leg. We taped it tight, took 4 Advil, and played the weekend. At the end of that weekend, I was black and blue from my waist to my toes, but we played. It was a different time. We didn't have a trainer. Art was the man. I feel that if there is a Hall of Fame for baseball here at Hesston, it's Art, and then everybody else comes below him. About how I got here. I didn't like school, but I loved baseball. So Jill, I would have been one of them kids that you would have had to work with. So I did make a few all-star games when I was young, but always knew there was somebody out there better than I was, so that kept me working hard. But I say working hard, but I loved the game, so it wasn't really work. It was really playing, but I always had a glove in my hand or a ball in my hand or a bat. And just doing that, I think, made me a lot better. I made this statement when I was a kid, not proud of it, but I made this statement. I said, if there isn't baseball in heaven, I'm not sure if I want to go. Now, I was very immature. Today, I know better. Heaven will be awesome, and we'll be blown away. So saying all that, so in January of '89, I came to Hesston to play ball. Some people might say, why'd you go to Hesston? I came to play ball. I came in January thinking, if I don't like it, I'm not coming back. And so happened that year, I made All-American. Art took my big swing, dropped my hands, and made me quick and a lot more power. Up to that point, before I came to Hesston, I hit 2 home runs in my whole career. One when I was 9 years old, and one my senior year when we were in a playoff game. So Art, when he changed some things on me, it just changed how I hit. When I got done one night, Art came up to me and said, you got a pretty good arm. You want to pitch? I said, sure. I'll give it a try, but I only ever pitched 2 games in my life. And so those of you who know me, I did pitch because where else do you enjoy competing from? And so I was a little bit wild. One game, I hit 5 guys. I hit one guy 3 times. Now, let me tell you the story, though, for that. So we were playing this team that if you got out of the way of an inside pitch, you got benched. And so the number 3 hitter was up, and I'm thinking, okay, he's all over the plate. I'm going to throw him a changeup on the inside part of the plate. He's going to foul it off. I'll have 2 strikes on him. Well, I throw inside part. He drops his shoulder and takes it. He gets first base. So next time up, I'm like, I have 2 strikes on him. I'm like, okay, I'm going to break a curveball off. I'm going to throw it right at his front shoulder, bust it over the front part of the plate, hope I can get him to swing and miss. He sticks his leg out and he gets drilled. So next time up, and I didn't tell Art this, I'm thinking if he gets up again, he's going to get one that hurts. And so it was the 7th inning, and he gets up again, and I'm like, as long as the base ain't loaded, I'm drilling him. And he gets up again, and I wind up, and I aim for his front shoulder. And it was probably the most accurate pitch I ever threw. But he actually flinched and pulled his arm up, and I got him in the rib cage, and he dropped like he was shot, and went to first base. Here's the cool thing, I think. So going through the line at the end of the game, we're shaking hands, and he grabs my hand, and he looks me right in the eye, and I'm thinking, oh boy, we're going to throw down right here. And he looks at me in the eye and says, I respect the way you pitch. I would have hit me too if I was pitching against me. So it was a different time. As Art said, I love to compete. We were playing the O show, and it was a tight game. I was pitching. They were yelling. We had our names on back our jersey. King, you ain't got nothing. You stink. I mean, they were just razzing us, and I was getting a little fired up. And so I struck the number 3 batter out to end an inning. And I'm saying this not because I'm proud of it, but Art wanted me to say it so it ties in another story. But I'm really not proud of what I did. So I struck the guy out to end the inning, and I grabbed my crotch, looked at him, and looked at the bench on the other side, did the same thing, and Art met me right at the fence, and he's like, "What was that?" Straight-faced. And I said, "They really pissed me off." And he looks at me, had just a little bit of a grin, and said, "Okay, I like it, but you can't do that." Later he told me, he said, "That's when I knew that you love to compete, when you could get to another level when they would get in your ear." That one's for you, Art. Another story was we had a catcher named Sam Petersheim. He's about 6'2", skinny little dude, but had a cannon. I was playing third that game. Sam had a very quick release, deadly accurate, really, really good arm. And the guy got to third base, and the coach says, "You can go as far as the third baseman." So I'm like, all right. So I'm playing third, and I go in real far. This guy follows me in. Sam comes up, puts it right on his back. All I have to do is tag him, so he's out. Next guy gets to third base later in the game. And coach tells him, "Don't take a very big lead. This guy's got a cannon behind the plate." Cocky college player says, yeah, I got this. So this guy takes the lead, and he's not hustling back to the bag. So we put the sign on. Sam comes up, puts it around the bag. He's out. Now the coach is really upset. He's like, "I told you guys not to take a lead. What are you?" So next guy gets to third, and the coach says to him, "I don't care if you don't even take a lead. Don't get picked off third." Again, another cocky college kid says, yeah, I got it. And he takes the lead. We had the bases loaded. The pitcher was falling behind in the count. We needed an out. So we put the sign on. I'm playing deep behind third base. The guy takes the lead, comes to the inside part of the line, like we're taught to come back. All you ball players know, you go inside, come back. Sam threw coach's box side, and I'm standing there, and we pick him off. The coach went crazy. Sam and I laughed as we went off the field, but it's just these memories of playing with teams and things that happen is what you guys can still enjoy, all you college players. Another story is when we were taking BP at Cali, the ball was really flying off my bat that day. Art was throwing BP. I hit like 7 out of 10 balls out of the park. And I looked down the line, and Cali County is all standing along the fence watching. And I just thought they were done warming up. Later, I realized that they were watching me bat. And after that game, I got to talk to some scouts that were there that I had no idea were there. So even your warm-ups matter. So when you're warming up, work hard at your warm-ups. We were playing Labette, and I was up to bat, and Art called timeout, called me down to third. I go down to third base. He says, "Nolan, you just tied the home run record, so you might as well hit one out to go up." I didn't even know I was in a home run record chase, but anyway. So I turn around, go back toward the plate, and Scott, which is Art's son, would always come along as a bat boy. And he asked me one time, "Nolan, how do you hit the ball so hard?" And I just said, "I just swing for the moon," just like a joke. And all of a sudden, Scott's over there screaming, "Swing for the moon." And Art just told me I just tied the home run record that hit one out. So I remember getting in the box, the pitcher winding up. We'll just stop there for a second. God gave me these eyes, not the ones I have today, but back then, that as soon as the pitch came out of the pitcher's hand, I could tell if it was a curveball, fastball, or slider. I could tell the spin as soon as it came out. And so it was a fastball. And at that time in my life, or that time in my career, I was on a roll. There's been times where the ball might look like a pea coming in, and you don't know how you're going to hit it. but at this time, it looked like a beach ball. And I loved fastballs. So he lets it fly, and I still can remember the bat hitting the ball, and as soon as I hit it, I knew it was gone. We estimated that it went about 430. Came around the bases. Of course, Art has this grin on his face again, gives me a high five. Scott's going crazy at home. Just another memory. It was fun. After Hesston, I had a scholarship to JMU, and that's a whole nother story. But you can get picked up out of a small school like this if you and play at a high level after that. But back when I was here, it was old school. If they were turning two, you took the guy out, not to hurt him, but to break up two. But you'd also pick him back up after you took him out at second, ask him if he was all right, shake hands, and run off the field. If you flipped your bat from hitting a home run or from doing something good, either the next guy up or you got drilled the next time up. And it was just the way it was. And nobody got upset about it. We didn't really care what field looked like. We didn't care what we looked like most of the time. We didn't have two gloves. We usually only had one. It didn't matter if we were playing infield or outfield. We didn't carry our own bats. We used the bats the school provided for us. We loved the game of baseball, and we respected all parts of it. Thanks again, Hesston College. It was an honor being here, and it's an honor for this reward, and thanks, Art.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Osborne. It's an honor to be part of today's posthumous induction of Francis Chupp into the Hesston College Athletic Hall of Fame. I've been asked to provide the background statistics for the selection of Fran for this induction, but I'd also like to add several personal notes. As someone who grew up here in Hesston, who was a student on this campus for 6 years and an employee for 38 years, it's always been rewarding to support the athletic program here at Hesston College, including Francis Chupp. In my 6 years as a student on this campus, there was only 1 year in which Fran and I were both students at the same time. In 1961, I was a Hesston Academy freshman, and Fran was a Hesston College sophomore. Fran, who was born in 1941 and passed away earlier this year, came here from Glendive, Montana, where he had been an all-state baseball player, coming here for his high school senior year at Hesston Academy in the fall of 1958. I was something of a gym rat as a kid, and I watched a lot of basketball in the Hess Hall gym. I saw very quickly that Franny Chupp was special. He had the sweetest jump shot I had ever seen. One of the players on the high school team, when Fran was a 12th grader, a senior, one of the players on that team told me that even as a 12th grader, Fran was already helping coach these younger guys on the team. Already, he was somebody special. Coming back here to the college then as a freshman for the 1959-1960 academic year, Fran led the basketball team in scoring with an average of 21.7 points per game. He also led in field goals made, 113, and total points scored, 304. The highlight of that team's 13-3 record was the win over Goshen College in Goshen, score of 63-61. The 1960 Hesston College yearbooks page of individual photos of the basketball players shows Fran's sweet jump shot. And the caption is, quarterback, Fran Chupp. So I think quarterback would call today point guard. But certainly it identified Fran as a leader. He was also the president of the Hesston College Student Council. In his sophomore year, 1960 to 1961, Fran again led the basketball team in scoring with an average of 19.7 points per game, as well as achieving the most field goals made, 93, the most free throws made, 51, the most total points made for the season, 237, leading the team to a 15-5 season record. Fran returned to Hesston College in the fall of 1966 for 2 years of coaching, including the sports of soccer, basketball, cross country, track, tennis, and golf. His legacy at Hesston was cemented in the success of the 1966 soccer team, which was 8-0 in conference games, defeating Goshen College 3-2, and then advancing to the national tournament of the National Junior College Athletic Association. This is the team that will be inducted this afternoon. I want to add another note. Fran contributed to the life of Hesston College students in ways other than just sports. For example, he was the faculty sponsor for a student gospel team that had an itinerary through Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Fran was special. Not just being Fran, a sports figure, but special in being Fran Chupp, the person. It's my honor to present the Hesston College Athletic Hall of Fame award to Fran's spouse, Darla.
Well, thank you, Dave. See, it sounds like that's the kind of guy I ought to marry. And I did in 1970. I really miss him. He was quite a guy. Not to be Debbie Downer or Darla Downer, I'm going to read his eulogy. It gives you another snapshot picture of him as a family man. Francis Leon Chupp was born in Glendive, Montana, to Monroe and Barbara Nestle Chupp. He was the sixth of 9 siblings: Vernon, Lila, Marilyn, Marlene, Maury, Frances, Claudia, Carol, and Sheila. Now, out of those 9 siblings, 7 of them also came to Hesston. Fran married Darla Rogers of Silver City, New Mexico on June 10, 1970. They met while teaching and coaching in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they were married for 54 years. He is survived by his children, Brian Chupp of Whitingham, Vermont, wife Leanne, daughters Hallie and Samantha, and son Jack. Christopher Chupp of Defiance, Missouri, wife Erin, son Derek, daughters Riley and Harper Ray, and Angela Fox, who happens to be here today, of Lake Dallas, Texas, husband Clint, sons Kate and Colin. That Derek Chupp is a pitcher. He's 6'7". He's just turned 17 years old, and they say his fastball is effectively, oh boy, let me think, wild. Fran worked as a high school math teacher and coach. He took a break to work at IBM, then returned to teaching. His career spanned schools in Montana, Kansas, Arizona, Colorado, and Texas. After retiring, he moved to Robeson Ranch, Texas, where he spent time golfing and attending sporting events. and participating in the Ropes and Ranch Men's Bible Study, which he founded. An acclaimed athlete, Fran excelled in basketball, baseball, and track and field. And he was an all-state baseball player, played Division I college basketball, and competed at the national level in pole vaulting. Fran was known for his relentless energy, courage, and work ethic. Over his lifetime, he juggled multiple jobs, often working 4 or 5 at once. During college, he hoboed across the country, hopping trains and riding in empty boxcars. On one of those trips, I didn't know him, but he ended up being sheriff at Disneyland. He needed a job, a summer job. He janitored churches, built a family home with his own hands, coached his kids' basketball teams, crafted intricate rock fountains, and even launched an RV rental business. His ability to take on challenges with endurance and resourcefulness was a hallmark of his character and a testament to his commitment to providing for his family. Fran was a man of faith, active in church and Bible study throughout his life. He was consistent, praying daily for many, including his children and grandchildren. Fran and Darla enjoyed RV trips in Colorado with their young family and later took cruises and other trips together around the world. With all of his adventures, successes, and stories, his legacy that will endure is his simple, sustained, and desire to follow Jesus. How did he get to Hesston? They had 9 kids. His dad was a mechanic. And how do you do that? How do you come when you're 16 years old out of state to a school? Well, apparently he had met a generous benefactor who had some of his same wishes. His name was Roy Mullet, who was also a supporter of Hesston College. Roy asked Fran if he would like to go to a Christian school, and Fran said, sure, but we have 9 kids. We can't afford that. And we don't have those funds. And so Roy handed Fran a signed but blank check to go to Hesston College. And here he came. And actually, Roy Chupp, as a senior adult, came to Hesston College and finished his degree too. The Hesston community had a special place in Fran's heart for several reasons. The Glick brothers, Melvin and Roger, drew Fran into a Bible study that strengthened Fran's faith. He made lifelong friends, and sadly, within the last couple of months, we lost 2 of those friends, Dave Beachy and Dr. Melvin Glick. Playing basketball at Hesston with his brother Maury was another great and memorable experience. But even more memorable was that the guys in the dorm encouraged Fran and Maury to stage a wrestling match. They wanted to see which, Maury was 15 months older than Fran, and he was bigger, but Fran was faster, and I guess wilier. And according to Fran, he won that match with a pin, and I bet that's true. All 3 of our children played soccer, basketball, baseball, softball, and I was surprised how much Fran knew about soccer. And that's when he finally confessed that he had coached a soccer team at Hesston College, and then he, of course, would go on and on and on about how great it was, how much fun he has, and about the guys on his team, and their big trip to New York. This was one of the highlights of his coaching career, and he spoke of it often. Some other Hesston highlights was meeting Evan Oswald, who was a coach, mentor, and friend here, living in the type of community where it was okay to leave his keys in his car so anybody on campus could use his car, and they did. He loved the ping pong intramurals. And talking about the quartet or the gospel, okay. Fran and Maury were in a mixed quartet, and Maury was tenor, Fran was the bass, along with an unnamed soprano and an unnamed alto. Maury blew the pitch pipe an octave too low. Fran didn't notice that until the end of the song, opened his mouth, and nothing came out. Of course, the guys thought that was hilarious, but the soprano and alto were not happy about that, and that was the end of that quartet. In closing, until the end, Fran was Fran. His hallmark personality traits with his faith were thankfulness, gratefulness, and cheerfulness. No one or nothing could ever take the joy, any joy away from him. His life verse was, "This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have success." He loved reading the Bible. And when he decided to memorize scripture, he memorized the entire book of James. Can you imagine? The entire book of Philippians. He loved reading and knowing the Bible. I mentioned that he had started a Bible study in our community, and it was just fantastic. He started with about 5 guys in our living room, and by the end, and he did that Bible study to within 2 weeks of his death. He had over 160 guys in that Bible study. They were now dispersed in about 6, 7, 8 homes, and that's his legacy. He's a wonderful person. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for this honor, all of you.
Well, thank you, Darla, for that. And a special thank you to the rest of the inductees. It's been an honor to hear about your experiences, your advice you have for our young people. We appreciate that very much. We're going to shift gears to our final feature of the day, and that is to honor our team of distinction. Just a quick note before we do that, kind of a quick housekeeping item. This is the 1966 men's soccer team. You'll hear more about them, but I want to talk about the current Larks team, which is about 2 hours away from game time. If you happen to see them stand up and leave, they're getting ready to go get us a win. Isn't that right, boys? Okay. So that's also a plug to round out your night. We have Family Fest, and we have a soccer game under the lights at 7 o'clock, and we welcome you to come out for that. For the team of distinction, this is something we added to the Hall of Fame last year, and it really embodies, I think, what kind of the central theme of this college and athletics and the founding denomination of this college, and that's community, and that's what it's all about. Individual achievement is incredible, but it can only take you so far. At the end of the day, it's about what we do together, what we do as a group that really gets us far in life. So it is our pleasure to kick it back to 1966 to talk about a special group of athletes that came together and really had a remarkable season. I'm going to list off the 7 members that we have from that team who are here. And gentlemen, I'd like you to stand and receive an honor as that's listed. And then we're going to have 2 of those members come up and share just a little bit about what it was like back then to represent Hesston College. So first we have Jerry Garber, all the way from Michigan. We have Gene Hershey from a little further away from Virginia. We have Don Lynn from 30 minutes down the road from Hutchinson. Wayne Longenecker, also from Virginia. David Moyer from New Jersey. Jay Taylor from New York City. And finally, Norm Yoder from Henderson, Nebraska. So we'd like to ask Wayne and Norm to come up and share some reflections, and that'll close us out. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate your efforts in coming this weekend as we honor the past student athletes here at Hesston College.
Hello, everyone. I'm very honored and very humbled to have this opportunity and privilege to represent and be a spokesman for the 1966 Hesston College Larks. And I have a few comments that I want to make about the team. And as I began to reflect on what kind of things I wanted to talk about, I thought maybe I'd try to use the analogy of a bird, since it is the Hesston College Larks. But after I thought through that for a period of time, nothing fit. And so I came up with the reflection of a horse. And so I would like to just share with you some of those reflections. I looked at the team as representing three types of horses. There were thoroughbreds, there were quarter horses, and there were work horses. Team members Jim Sieber, Terry Copenhaver, Chris Yoder, Don Lynn represented the thoroughbreds. They were highly skilled in all aspects of the games. Fellows like Jay Taylor, Jerry Garber, Ed Troyer, Charles Miller, Dave Moyer, Gene Hershey, and Norm Yoder, among others, made up the quarter horses. They were finely tuned and had unending endurance. The workhorses were made up of Nelson Kaufman and myself. Our job as defensive players was to make sure the thoroughbreds and the quarter horses were well fed. All of this was safely guarded by the gatekeeper, Don Lynn. The combination of these characteristics helped make the team what it was. Other characteristics of the team included friendship, generosity, and a genuine work ethic. Without these, we as a team would not have survived. However, the team of 1966 was not created in a vacuum. We stand on the shoulders of many others who contributed to the success of the team. Those shoulders included teams of 1964, 1965, who helped provide the roots to the program. We also stand on the shoulders of those who supported the team in unspoken ways. People like past presidents Tillman Smith and Laban Peachy. And of course, we cannot forget the shoulder of the athletic director, Evan Oswald, who was an avid supporter of Hesston sports. We stood on the shoulders of each of the coaches, Fred Litweiler and Francis Chupp. Both individuals were great strategists and encouragers. Of course, we cannot neglect another important shoulder, Emil Yoder. He never failed to see that we were well fed. Other shoulders that come to mind were from the community. Bob Rozak of Bob's Convenience Store, along with those delicious Long Johns. Now, some of you that have history know what I'm talking about. He was an enthusiastic supporter and often provided transportation to league games. Another shoulder that we stood on was an individual by the name of Leroy King. He was another community shoulder helping to cover the expenses to the National Junior College Soccer Invitational Tournament in New York City. So as the soccer team of 1966, which is being honored, it is this community that helped provide the foundation and the success that we are celebrating today. So with team members that are present, those that are not able to attend, and those that have passed on, we truly say thank you for paving the way and providing the opportunity for this honor. I close with a word from 1 Chronicles 14:34. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Thank you.
I as well feel honored to be a spokesperson for this 1966 soccer team. Wayne told you a little bit of the core of what it means to be a team. I'm going to talk just a little bit about some of the highlights, things that I remember. But you have to remember, you thought it was 30-some years ago. This is 58 years ago. So you have to keep that in mind as we tell some stories. But I, too, would say there was 4 people that were the core of that team. Jim Sieber, who was selected as an All-American. He's a missionary kid who grew up in Argentina. Terry Copenhaver, who was a missionary, the late Terry Copenhaver, I should say, who grew up in I think, Argentina as well. And Chris Yoder in the backfield, and Don Lind, who was the goalie. All of the rest of us helped. It's purely, as you heard a lot of people talking today about being a team effort. That's what it was all like, and that was the experience that we had here and that we cherish today was the team effort. It wasn't just one of us, and we're not celebrating any individuals here today as far as the 1966 soccer team, but it was the whole team. So what were some of the highlights? Practices were brutal. Fran was a tough customer for us. We thought when it come time to a game, it was a picnic compared to the Kansas Heat and all the running that we did. But he prepared us well. We played our first game under the lights in York, Nebraska, and that was special because we hadn't played any night games at all that year. And it sticks out, and it was mentioned last night by a number of us, 17-0, we beat York, Nebraska. And on a personal note, I live today about 10 miles from York, Nebraska. I was a school administrator, and about 15 or so years ago, had the opportunity to hire the person who was the current York soccer coach at that time, who was also a teacher in our system, and we hired him as our high school principal. And I reminded him several times over the years about that 17-0 game. The only problem was he wasn't even born then. We played our last home game under the lights here at Hesston, the first Hesston College soccer game under the lights, which was out here south of Herb Hall, which it went east and west. It's where now the softball field and the soccer field combined. It was where the first game was under the lights. We were also reminded of a game in Haviland, and I think somebody mentioned playing in Haviland. The wind was usually really strong, and the day we played in Haviland, it was so strong that if you kicked the ball in the air, it either went the length of the field or it went back over your head. Other than going to the Nationals, which I'll talk about in just a minute, our trip to Goshen was probably one of the highlights for us here. You know, in those days, I don't know how you travel for sure today. I know the college has quite a few vans. I don't know if we even had a van, but we traveled in cars and players drove. We carpooled together, and that's how we got to games. And I happened to have an old, large Pontiac, And so if you've ever made a trip, if you know any of these guys, if you've ever made a trip with Jerry Garber, Jim Steyer, Dave Moyer, or Ed Troyer, we all traveled to Goshen together. And I'll tell you what, it's a type of trip that you'll remember for a lifetime, traveling with those guys. But the big thing was, Goshen at that time had 7 former Hesston College players, and I think one of them is somewhere here today. I won't call his name, but we beat them in overtime, 3-2. And that was a real highlight for our year. But then it was topped off by our trip to New York City. For most of us, that was probably the first time we ever flew. We went to the Nationals in New York City at Nassau Community College. We drove to Kansas City in our carpools and flew from there. And there was a group that Hesston Manufacturing flew there. They had a small plane. They took a group of players, I think, as well. And so that's how we got to New York. We lost the first game 5-0, and that was the first, if my memory is correct, that was the first time that Hesston College had ever lost to a 2-year school. So while we had some great times, we were also part of that first loss. But it was a learning experience. The next day we played for the consolation game, and we played the equivalent of an hour and a half of sudden death overtime. And because the game was, well, I understand it, because the game was taking so long, the championship game was supposed to start, they moved us to another field. We finished the game there. A whistle blew, everybody stopped. And as the other team was walking towards the sideline, one of the players kicked the ball in the net because it was laying there, and the official said the game was over. The whistle came from the neighboring field, but everybody thought stop. That's how we interpret it. Now, maybe the other team interprets it differently, but we lost in that sudden death overtime. An interesting tidbit from that was Franny trusted us. I don't know, surprising as a bunch of Midwestern boys, but he said they had rented a couple cars. We had keys to a car. He said, he come up to me and he said, if you and some of the guys want to go to Times Square, this was the evening after the last game, you can take the car and go meet the subway and go. So we did. I think Don Lind was a part of that. I don't remember for sure. But we took this car, went and met the subway, got on the subway, and we were having a good old time. A bunch of Midwestern boys, not, knowing the big city. And fortunately, a young man come up and he said, asked us what we were doing, and told him, and he said, did you notice where you got on? No, we hadn't noticed. So he told us, he said, remember when you come back where that station is, if it wouldn't have been for that, we might still be lost in New York City. Personally, the experience of playing on a team like this and play with a group of guys is something that I'll cherish for a lifetime. I'll cherish the experiences of learning to play as a team. And I had played some teams like that as I was growing up, but nothing like the experience of playing on the team at Hesston College. It also helped me as I was able to later teach and coach and start the soccer program at Iowa Mennonite School in Iowa. But the things I learned from Fran and from playing here carried over. And I would just say, challenge you as athletes, no matter what sport you're in, give it all you've got, play hard, but if you knock somebody down, that's part of the game, but offer my hand to help them back up. It's all about sportsmanship and teamwork, and that's where the really rewards come from. So, just a few remembrances from the experiences we had as a team, and I would like to thank the college and the selection committee for selecting us, the 1966 Hesston College soccer team. Thank you.
I'm going to embarrass you. I just want to mention that I'm standing beside the fella that made the winning goal when we beat Goshen.
I'd like to acknowledge a lot of people who made today possible. For the development team, especially Leslie Gerber, who organized this weekend. I'd like to thank the Media Services Department and Alexis for making sure we're heard today and for coordinating things. I'd like to thank the Hesston College administration for their support of athletics, our current coaches and players who've helped to honor this Hall of Fame class, Assistant Athletic Director Andy Sharp, who did a lot of organizing for this event. Thank you. Our marketing and communication team, Sarah, Nick, and Larry, for the publicity and the Hall of Fame display. If you haven't seen the Hall of Fame display, it's in the lobby of Yost Gym. It's a touchscreen TV, and they did a wonderful job. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the 2025 Hall of Fame class for sharing their Hesston College stories with us last night and today. There's still some athletic things you can do today. You can watch a men's basketball practice, which is happening right after this. You can win the long drive contest on the Hesston College Golf Simulator in Peachy Building. And there is a men's soccer game at 7 p.m. tonight. The Hall of Fame class will be introduced at halftime of that. I'd like to ask you to stand and join me as we pray to end this event. Creator God, thank you for the gifts of the 2025 Hall of Fame members and that we were able to hear the stories of athletic commitment and passion. We thank you for the opportunities our current athletes have to pursue their goals with integrity at Hesston College, and we honor the support of their families and the Hesston College community. Bless these inductees as they continue their journey. In your name we pray, amen. You're dismissed. We want to get a group picture. What are you looking for?
My paper.